Hey y'all, Michelle Raza here with the Finding Yourself Book Club, and today we're going to talk about John Gottman's What Makes Love Last. We are almost finished with this book. It's pretty exciting and a little sad. So if you guys have been with me throughout this whole time in this journey, thank you so much. We have a few channels if you're interested in the other topics that we cover or talk about. One is on emotionally immature parents, talking about the works of Lindsay Gibson. And Gottman actually wrote a lot about raising an emotionally intelligent child. So that's one of the books that I plan on covering in the future. We also have a playlist on domestic violence. We have this one, of course, the John Gottman and What Makes Love Last. So how to be good in your romantic relationships. We have one that's just a little bit of fun. Call it Science Fiction Saturday. And in that one, I'm reading Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. Not sure if you guys have heard of that book, but it's pretty cool. Some of it's way out there, but it just has a lot of good ideas. And then lastly, I have a playlist with everything I could find where John or Julie Gottman were talking. So the actual Gottmans talking, and I have a playlist with their stuff. Please do check out our website. We're at www.findingyourselfsatx.com. There you can fill out our life balance questionnaire and send it to us. You can also just fill out a contact form and we'll be in touch. The first consult is always free. And last plug before I get into it, if you haven't yet liked or subscribed, well, obviously, please like this video. But if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. I think something like 75% of the views come from non-subscribed individuals. And if you're watching one or more of these, please do subscribe. It helps us. And will help us grow, and we'll show you more stuff. And if you're seeing too much of me, no worries. I won't take it personally if you unsubscribe. I do love all of your comments. I love engaging with you guys. It is me that responds to you. I'm not big enough yet to have somebody helping me. And at the point that I do, I'll tell you guys, because I really do like, I like talking to you all. It's fun. So anyway, without further ado, lots of talking, not a lot of reading. Let me get to it. Okay, so this is What Makes Love Last, Learning to Trust Again, a Life-Saving Skill. And where we left off last time was talking about how being alone can actually kill you. Being lonely is very bad for your health, and even being in a bad relationship is not as bad as being alone. But he doesn't recommend that you stay in a bad relationship. Either work to fix it and make it better using the strategies in his book, or if you need to split up, then split up, and don't give up on love is, I think, ultimately his message here. The high mortality rate of isolated people has been well documented. A classic epidemiological study of 9,000 people found that close friendships and marriage granted people about an extra decade of life. In other words, after 6 years, the survival probability of people who were married or had confidants, meaning a close, trusting relationship with somebody, was approximately 80%, while for those without these social connections, it was 50%. Even an unhappy marriage offered benefits, especially to men. All of this research suggests that lifelong isolation shortens life expectancy more than a bad marriage. Scientists do not yet know the biological basis of the link between loneliness and early death, but the leading theory, based on work by University of Chicago social psychologist and psychopsychologist John Cacioppo, points at higher blood pressure due to arterial vasoconstriction, the narrowing of blood vessels. I'm not advising that people remain in unsalvageable marriages to protect their health. The solution to this statistical bad news is not to endure an agonizing relationship. It is to avoid moving on to a lonely and isolated life. You want to enter a new loving relationship or establish or strengthen bonds with friends, not shut the door on the world. There are no reliable statistics on the percentage of people who describe themselves as lonely, nor why so many of these people do seem resistant to ending their isolation. But we know that people who remain lonely for a long period have common characteristics. Although they crave attention and connection, they have a poor ability to detect deceit. In some cases, they accept unfair treatment in order to be liked. In others, they react with extreme suspicion to people who are, in fact, trustworthy. Since they expect to be betrayed, they reject potential partners before any real connection can occur. Isolation is the result. When Caciopo, sorry, I mispronounced his name earlier. I think I called him Cachipopo. When Caciopo used MRIs to trace glucose metabolism in the brain, he found that lonely people experience less of a pleasure boost when viewing happy faces than do others. When they are asked to imagine a social event, the parts of their brain associated with fear light up. It is understandable to feel wary of relationships if you aren't confident that you can tell whom to trust, especially if you have at least one toxic relationship in your past as proof. Proof in quotes, proof. If you are grappling with this issue, I want to bring home the importance of working to improve your ability to recognize when another person is trustworthy. Research indicates that without intervention, loneliness doesn't lessen over time, and as we've seen, it is likely to harm your health. Trust always comes down to risk. If you make yourself vulnerable to another person, there is never a guarantee that you won't be hurt, but more often than not, it's worth it. This is not a platitude, but a fact. It is the consistent finding of research into what's often called the trust game. Though these studies have not focused on intimate relationships per se, their findings are applicable to romance. The game works in this fashion. Anonymous person number 1, who we'll call Mary, is given $10. She can choose to keep the money or send all or part of it to anonymous person number 2, whom we'll call Bruce. Mary knows that based on the game rules, any money she sends to Bruce will triple in value. If she sends him $1, he receives 3. If she sends 5, he gets 15. Any money that Bruce then decides to send back to her will triple in value again, but only for Mary. When this game is played for only one round, Mary knows that Bruce has no stake in sending her back any money. His notions of altruism and perhaps fair play will guide his choice. So how much money should she risk giving him? He might return nothing or quite a lot. Her decision will reflect her fundamental trust level because she knows nothing at all about Bruce. Studies show that almost all Marys send at least some money to Bruce during a one-round trust game. Usually she sends him about $5. She's willing to risk half of her treasure based on trust that he will respond in an honorable manner and share the profit with her. Bruce has now received $15. He knows any money he doesn't keep but sends back to Mary will triple for her. In one typical study, out of 30 Bruces, 18 returned an average of $5, which was then tripled. So Mary ended up receiving 15 for the 5 she had shared. 11 of the Bruces sent Mary back the original amount she had sent him. So if she trusted him with $8, in effect, he returned 24, giving her a $16 profit. These studies show again and again that the more Mary trusts Bruce, the more money she gains. Individuals who risk trusting others benefit more than those who are suspicious. Life tends to go better for people who have the courage to trust others. But of course, it's imperative to recognize when suspicion is appropriate. To hone your trust radar, follow the example of people who have an excellent track record in assessing others. These savvy people tend to score high on measures of social intelligence, which means the ability to interact well with people individually and in group settings. Their default position when they meet someone is to be trusting, but they are not gullible. If there is reason for skepticism, they become wary. Lesson number 1 about detecting deceit. Untrustworthy people only think of their own payoffs. If someone treats you unfairly and does not reciprocate kindness, do not trust him or her, no matter how charming. Tricksters and selfish con artists often are incredibly charming and reassuring. Think Bernie Madoff. So we tend to dismiss evidence that we would that we otherwise would not. Based on my exhaustive research on trust and betrayal, I believe there are 5 detectable criteria for separating the trustworthy from the shysters. If you meet someone who possesses the following qualities, I think it's worth the risk to open yourself up, perhaps little by little. There is no guarantee, but if you learn to assess others with fairness and objectivity, in time you are likely to encounter someone with whom you can connect in a deep and loving way. The opposite is also true. If someone fails any part of the following smell test, walk away. Okay, so next time we will cover these 5, they're small, so I don't need to do 5 videos on it, but I'll cover the 5 qualities, detectable qualities. I really hope that you've been with us and following these videos throughout the whole time we've been posting. Please do pick up your own copy. There's a lot of really cool quizzes in here that I haven't covered, just because I feel like it'll be a little tedious. But yeah, I mean, I love all of Gottman's stuff. Give me just one second. Somebody, I don't know why I have like do not disturb on, but still text messages come through, and the video brightness that you need in order to record is so bright that the text message is like hurting my eyes right now. I'll be right back. Okay. I lost track of what I was saying. I'm sorry. I was talking about Gottman and how much I love Gottman. If you get a chance, Google him. He has a whole institute. He also has Gottman certified therapists. So if you go to a couples counselor to talk about relationships, a lot of times what you're going to get is somebody who is giving you anecdotal evidence based on their own life, or just based on their practice, what they've seen from the people that they've seen, which of course, I mean, depending on how long they've been doing it, they may have some really good advice, right? They've seen hundreds of couples maybe. But Gottman's research kind of takes that, so you don't have to ask to see how many therapists how many couples your therapists have seen. He's done the research on couples, and a lot of the stuff that he's found out it's counterintuitive. It's not what you would think. Love is not built on the grand gestures of life. It's not built, yes, flowers and chocolates are important and beautiful and fun, but it's actually the really, really small things that make the relationship or break the relationship. It's moments where one or the other has a bid for emotional connection, and the other one either turns away or turns toward. And so the people who turn toward their partner, I forgot what the exact number was. I think it was like 85% of the time, but they're the ones who make it. And it's the small things, like it can be anything from, I need help taking out the trash, to, oh, what a pretty tree over there. But it's just the person who responds positively to their partner's request for emotional connection. Those are the relationships that make it. So next time we'll talk about the 5 different qualities that you want to look for in a person that you can trust. And again, I think I said it in the last video on this topic, but if you are lonely and you've given up on love, think about volunteering in your community, just being able to help and give back in some way, even if it's volunteering with animals, if you really don't like people, but volunteering. And then you need a best friend that you can talk to. You need someone to be able to talk to and to be your confidant, to be able to tell them how your day was. And if you just truly lack the social skills to be able to do so, I talked about this in one of the Lindsay Gibson videos, and then somebody called me out on it, and I haven't done the right research to be able to recommend a particular workbook on emotional intelligence. But I will say Gottman's 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work, it really does cover a lot of emotional intelligence in that book. So maybe pick that one up and read it. And then any workbook that you can find on emotional intelligence. The 2 that we have in our repertoire are one based on anger management, emotionally intelligent anger management by Wendy Coates, and then another one focused on domestic violence. And they're the same author, kind of same content, but one goes into typically men who hit their women, and then the other one is just focused on anger management. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I really do enjoy y'all's comments. Please do like and subscribe, and we'll talk more next time. Take care, y'all.